90% of the time, I have no idea what the I'm talking about.
What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the audaciously adamant Dr. Disaster. And one of the best things about a launch like Arc Raiders is that it comes out of nowhere and just decimates the narratives that are being spun by the apologists for all of the AAA dogshit slop studios. Just today, there were people out there trying to explain away the reason that Outer Worlds 2 is flopping as a condition of the video game market at large. Over on X, this fella here pointed out that Obsidian used to make banger games up until 2015, which is of course right when Gamergate took place and studios like Obsidian were hollowed out in favor of activists, and then the post says that they haven't made anything good since. Too many such cases. I wonder what else happened in 2015. And then this guy replied,
"It's not their studio, it's the market. Too many games in everyone's backlog. Too many people waiting for free games or monstrous discounts. Too many service games eating massive percentages of players' times. Gonna put a lot of devs out of business. Times, they are a-changin'."
And when I hear shit like this, all I can think is,
where did it come up with this stuff?
I mean, how do these people explain a game like Claire Obscure Expedition 33? How do they explain something like Escape from Duckov? Or how about something like Stellar Blade? Those were all brand new intellectual properties from the past few years, meaning that they didn't have a built-in audience or anything like that, and they came out of nowhere and they excelled in this market. Or, for the most recent example, take a look at the launch of Arc Raiders. They hit over 250,000 concurrent players on Steam yesterday.
It's not true. That's impossible.
One thing that this tweet here did get right, though, was the fact that yes, the times they are a-changin'. These soulless AAA studios can't just mindlessly pump out the same old sludge that they have been making while utilizing cutting-edge industry technology and the accompanying high development costs. They can't do that and expect the game to succeed because gamers are sick and tired of this shit. Why would someone drop $70 for a game like Outer Worlds 2 when you could spend $40 on Arc Raiders and have a better time? And keep in mind that at one point, the jackasses at Xbox were under the impression that Outer Worlds 2 should be priced right at $80.
Why would you think that? Why would you even think that?
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel recently, so make sure you check on that, and also, don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster1, and if you want to help keep the lights on, consider becoming a member of the channel for as little as $5 per month. In any case, let's talk about this Arc Raiders launch because relatively few people are wanting to do so in the mainstream media. We've discussed this sort of thing before, but whenever a game comes out that the mainstream media either doesn't care for, or maybe it's just a game made by a studio that's too small for them to care about, but one of their primary tactics for dealing with something like this is to ignore it and to not review it for as long as possible, even if it's a game that they despise, like last year's Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. You would think that they'd want to talk about that game and tell us all not to play it, and they think that it's evil because they can't stand the thought of a female character without a man jaw or a skin problem or being morbidly obese. But even with a game like that they hate, they won't review it or even talk about it that much because they don't want to give it oxygen. To this day, there are only 8 reviews for that game on Metacritic. For reference, when a game comes out, they usually get 50 to 70 reviews. Outer Worlds 2 has 51 as of right now, but Arc Raiders doesn't even have the requisite 4 reviews needed on Metacritic to give it a proper score. In fact, they only have 2 reviews right now. We talked about this same thing happening last week with Escape from Duckov. That studio is too small for these game journalists to care about. They don't think it benefits them to review the game, so they don't bother with it. Keep that in mind, though, that everything that game journalists do is to benefit themselves. They review games like Outer Worlds and give it a high score because that is how they get their early and exclusive access to these AAA studios. But if a game is too small, or if they don't know how it fits their narrative, then these game journalists avoid it. They slow-rolled the reviews of Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, the first Berserker Kazan, and even Marvel Rivals because all of those games bucked the trend of being AAA Western slop. And now, these game journalists are essentially doing the same thing with Arc Raiders. With Marvel Rivals, the game journalists were pissy that the game featured attractive female characters. But with Arc Raiders, I get the sense that the primary reason we aren't seeing reviews is because the moral cowards in the professional critic circles are all waiting to see what the consensus on the narrative is before committing to a score. I will give credit to this outlet here, Game 8, for being the only outlet with the balls to give the game a score thus far. They scored Arc Raiders an 82 of 100, which seems fair, and they wrote, Arc Raiders blends cinematic flair with extraction shooter grit, delivering stylish action and just enough fresh ideas to stand out in a crowded genre. Its fast-paced mechanics, striking presentation, and surprisingly solid story keep it engaging, though console players may feel a stumble or two. Still, it's definitely a raid worth dropping into. And yes, that sounds like something worth trying out if you ask me. Meanwhile, this is the other review on Metacritic. It comes from Metro Game Central, and the score is to be determined. And if you read this review, you really get a sense that this reviewer is on the fence and is waiting to be told what his opinion should be. He writes here, compared to other extraction shooters, Arc Raiders is very accessible and welcoming, but compared to Fortnite or Call of Duty, this asks a lot more of players than many will be willing to give. Some will become frustrated at the complex maps and aggressive enemies. There's a lot more PvE than there is PvP in the average match, while others will appreciate that this is genuinely something different from the norm, which is what most people claim to want. There's no way of knowing whether Arc Raiders will be popular on consoles or whether its popularity will last, even if it is, but the initial signs are very positive. This isn't something you just throw on in the evening while playing on autopilot, but if you're looking for something more than that, then Arc Raiders delivers. So give it a score, you chicken shit. It sounds to me like you've played the game and you have an opinion, so give us a rating. But they tell us right in this review that they aren't sure if the game is going to be popular, so clearly this guy is waiting to see what happens. And for anyone out there who wants to defend this practice by saying, well, it's a multiplayer game, it's an online multiplayer game, and the servers just opened up, and this person wants to see what it looks like when actual gamers are dropping in and playing, for anyone clinging to that narrative, I've got 2 words for you: Battlefield 6. That game released on October 10th, and if you read the reviews on Metacritic, the majority of those reviews, the vast majority of them, came out on October 9th, when the review embargo lifted. Oh, and that game has 68 reviews, just in case you were wondering. But meanwhile, Arc Raiders is simply doing its thing, and it is succeeding even without the game journalists giving it positive word of mouth, even in a market where guys like this make it seem like it's impossible to succeed. Hell, Arc Raiders is releasing sandwiched right between Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and they still have already drawn in a pretty decent crowd. And the answer to this puzzle as to why games like this are selling well while slop like Outer Worlds 2 stumbles is simple. The game is cheap, because they aren't trying to impress these game journalist types by throwing in game tech that gamers don't care about. There doesn't seem to be any preachy bullshit in Arc Raiders. In other words, they didn't do any culture war shit. At least none that I am aware of. The game is properly optimized. As this person points out on X, Arc Raiders runs at 90 frames per second on a 1080, while Borderlands 4 would just about cause your PC to explode if you tried to play it with those specs. Both are on Unreal Engine 5, but in the end it's the devs who ensure good performance, not the engine. And to top it off, it seems like Arc Raiders is a bit of a fresh experience. All of that leads to this, a positive user review score on Steam after about 13,000 reviews so far. It seems like this is a game that I will have to pick up soon, and I won't even have to wait for a deep discount. At $40 compared to all the AAA slop, this is already heavily discounted. But I'm gonna leave it there. Why do you think games like Arc Raiders keep succeeding while shit like Outer Worlds 2 keeps flopping? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.